Check out Paddy Power's new and exclusive Cash Card Plus. Available to use online, at ATMs or even down the local. Paddy Power, you beauty.
Hi there, welcome along to the Racing Post Weekend Review Postcast. I'm Bruce Millington. I am sat next to Nick Watts, who's very, very poorly. He's climbed off his sick bed to give us his views. Feeling very chipper, hopefully, after his treble at Musselburgh yesterday is Sam Twiston-Davies. And feeling kind of in between is Tom Nugent, who watched the first quarter of the Super Bowl and then sensibly went to bed when some of us who'd backed Atlanta stayed up till 4 o'clock to watch our team somehow throw it away. Never mind. Good weekend of racing, plenty of more Cheltenham clues. We'll be discussing them. We'll be talking about the new female allowance for jockeys in France and would that work in England? In Britain, should it work here? And we'll have a quick sniff at the Grand National and also this weekend where the Betfair Hurdle is the big ticket item. First of all, though, we will start with man of the moment, Sam Twiston-Davies. How many winners were you, in your heart of hearts, hoping to come away with yesterday, Sam, realistically?
We'd sent up a really strong team up there, and every rider luckily had a pretty strong chance. The two odds-on favourites, so was hoping that you'd definitely come away with two. Frodon was great, and then probably the disappointing one was probably Overland Flyer. But there we go, that's racing, and delighted to come away with the free. And
how long does that take to get home? Musselburgh back to home must be a right old schlep, isn't it?
We flew up, myself and Will Candy. We had a great run. Only took us 5 up there. Back home was a little bit steadier. The traffic wasn't so kind, but 5.5 on the way home. So all in all, not too bad a day.
Are you one of the better ones at coping with traffic and driving? I think that there's nothing I'd like about being a jockey. I like food. I hate travelling and I'm scared of horses. But, I mean, out of all the bad bits about being a jockey, which is the one that gets you down most? Is it the traffic?
Yeah, I think that the traffic is the worst bit. The driving itself isn't too bad. It's then when you get delayed or you're trying to get somewhere for a certain time and then the traffic's doing your head in.
Which is your one bit of road, which is your one section of which motorway that you hate the most?
Well, M25 has never been very kind, but the minute my least favourite bit at the minute is the traffic works on the M6. They just go on forever, and they're a pain. But hey, it has to be done. And when you have a day like yesterday, it makes it all worthwhile.
I bet. And out of those three, Frodon, San Benedito, and El Bandit, which one would you think's probably got the best chance at the festival, Sam?
Frodon would probably have the strongest chance. El Bandit would be a beautiful chaser for next season. And then I'd imagine San Benedito obviously lies in the handicapper's hand, really, as to what direction he goes in.
Jolly good. Yesterday we saw Douvan. Nick, it wasn't the most competitive race of all time. It's always lovely to see him come out and jump imperiously and win. But we do need to see him in action soon, don't we? I mean, it's just a bit of a non-event yesterday, wasn't it? What do you make of Douvan?
Yeah, I can't quite work out in these races whether I should be getting excited at seeing such a fantastic horse in training or whether I find it boring because there's just nothing to challenge him. And I suppose it's a bit of both, really. I mean, yesterday's race, there really was nothing that could beat him other than the fences, and he did exactly what we thought he would do. And I suppose it's disappointing in the sense that it's probably going to be similar at Cheltenham. I really can't see anything. Maybe Fox Norton push might be able to give him some sort of race. Let's hope he does. But I suppose it's like Frankel. We all loved watching him, but do you get tired of seeing 10-1 on shots just winning easily? I don't know. I love competition, so yesterday's race was a bit boring for me, but you've got to marvel at him.
Yeah, you do. I mean, but the trouble is, the first competitive test he's going to have, and it might not even be that competitive, of arguably the best jump source in training is going to be the Cheltenham Festival. You'd love to ride him, Sam, wouldn't you? But he's no betting proposition, is he?
Oh, definitely not. Look, he'd be a horse you'd love to ride. He looks very assured of himself as he goes round. He jumps from fence to fence. And like you say, when you watch yesterday's race, Ralph Moore, I think, is a 12-year-old. He's been around the block. So you'd like to think he'd be beating him very easily. But I think Cheltenham will be his toughest test. And I was very impressed with Fox Norton at Cheltenham, so hopefully he can give him a race and we can really see what he's capable of.
I can't see Fox Norton getting within 20 lengths of Douvan. I honestly can't. I just don't think there's anything to touch him. What's the market saying, Tom? I guess he's absolutely, home and hose unless he falls, isn't he?
Yeah, he's 1-3 with us now, unchanged after yesterday. Altior is next in at 3-1. Fox Norton 6 is alongside Undeso, and it's 14's bar.
And Sam, will he get a trip in the end, do you think, Douvan? 3 miles going to be within his wheelhouse?
I think, especially when you watch him yesterday, he looked very relaxed throughout the race. And the more racing he's getting, he sometimes looked a little bit keen at times last season, but this season he's looking good and relaxed. He's jumping from fence to fence, and I don't think there's any reason why he wouldn't get a trip.
That is an exciting possibility. So the Champion Chase we think is probably a one-horse race. The Champion Hurdle certainly isn't. Let's have a look at that.
Paddy Power stream all UK and Irish racing live on your mobile, tablet or PC. Unlike some other high street bookies, Paddy Power, you beauty!
The market suggested that Buveur Dare would have a reasonably easy run at Sandown on Saturday, and so it proved. But he's certainly entering the Champion Hurdle picture in a big way, isn't he, Tom? What price is he now?
He is 9-2 from 5s, just a little cut, but he'd want to be stuffing Raven Black, wouldn't he?
Well, he would, yeah, but I mean, he did. He just didn't come off the bridle. Give us a quick blast of Champion Hurdle from Paddy Power.
Yeah, so we're non-runner, no bet. Faheen at the top 6-4, York Hill 7-2, Yanworth 4s, Buveur Dare 9-2, Petit Mouchoir 5s, Chesky 6-1, Brain Power 8s, and it's 12s, Vroom Vroom Mag 16s bar.
I've got Buveur bang in there, Nick Watts. What do you think?
Yeah, it was a funny old race, the contenders, wasn't it? At the start of the week, it was Yanworth against Brain Power. Then neither of those turned up. Buveur Dare was going to be running in the Scilly Isles for a long time. Then he was going to Kelso. Then he went to Sandown and won easily. Yeah, I mean, look, you go back to his former last season. He was a good third, I thought, in the Supreme for a horse that didn't have a lot of experience.
And it could be an absolutely phenomenally good Supreme as well, couldn't it? Min and Altior.
It's looking that way. And then, of course, he went up to Aintree and he beat Petit Mouchoir, and that form looks really, really good now. I was a bit surprised when I saw his quote for the Champion Hurdle last week. I thought, God, that's a bit tight. But, he did win easily at the weekend. And there's no love around for Yanworth at the moment. I can't find anyone who fancies Yanworth with the Champion Hurdle right now. So, how
ground dependent do you think Buveur is? He's got a reputation of needing soft, but, I mean, there's not a ton of evidence that that's the case. He might be better there, but that's not to say he can't run on a decent surface.
Yeah, look, he beat Petit Mouchoir around Aintree, which is a really sharp track. You need a bit of speed to win up there. And, I don't think the ground was too bad when he was running on I think it was the first day of the Aintree meeting last year. So I don't think it's completely ground dependent. And if it's good to soft as it normally is on the first day, I think more a question mark is, and I'm sure Sam would agree with this, the course that the Champion Hurdle run on is actually very sharp. I think that's why the new one can win international hurdles, but he struggles in Champion Hurdles. And it might just be that Buveur Dare, he looked a little bit outpaced. Maybe it was a lack of experience in the Supreme last season, but he couldn't go with Min and Altior on good ground. You might worry that could happen again.
Sam, what's your take on the Champion Hurdle at this point? It's a right old puzzle, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks to be. Obviously, Faheen's the question mark as to what happens, whether he turns up. But I thought it was quite interesting. Question talking about the two obviously tracks. I think that there's a lot of difference between the new and the old track. The old track is obviously what the Champion Hurdle has run on, and especially when the ground is good, it's a real speed test. So you want something with plenty of boot. So when you do look for it, you look at a horse like Brain Power and think, well, what might be? He's a very, very strong traveller. He goes through a race really smoothly, and it opens it up for a horse like him. It's wide open,
Would you have Buveur in the mix?
Oh, definitely. Sure, once again, although he did look a little bit outpaced at the bottom of the hill, I think it's one of those they pressed on. Early Barry obviously was well assured what he had under him, and then when he needed him, there was obviously plenty there. So he looks a very, very capable horse, and he'll be definitely worth his weight of gold in that race anyway.
Excellent. The JLT, a new contender, hove interview for that one in the form of Top Notch on Saturday. Very, very gritty win, Nick. I guess with the JLT, if York Hill turns up, he's going to take all the beating, albeit he wasn't that impressive last time out. What's your kind of JLT thoughts?
Well, it's all about Top Notch for me, actually, because I put him up a little while ago in the portfolio.
What price?
25 to 1.
Get in. So did you bet him as well?
I had a little bit on, and he's done me absolutely proud. And I've got to say, I've been, probably as much as Nicky Henson, I've been a bit surprised as to how well he has taken to fences, purely because he's not the biggest. And I was watching the race on Saturday, and you see this little head darting above these, coming towards these massive fences, and you think, how on earth is he going to get over that? But he wasn't just getting over them; he was absolutely winging them. He was flying around there, and I think it's taken Nicky by surprise as just to how well he has taken to the job. But you've got to take him very seriously, and I know, Sam, you've got a fancied contender in that and Politolog, haven't you? But you'd have to give respect to Top Notch.
What do you make of Top Notch, Sam?
Yeah, I was very impressed with him at the weekend. Obviously, soft ground, he jumped, he travelled, he went through the race. notably well, and I think what really summed him up was his jumps over the last two. He was very assured of himself, and he put in a very polished round, and that will stand him in really good stead for Cheltenham, and he's looking like one of the ones definitely there to beat.
Sam, talking about the going, actually, are you a good judge of the going? Do you keep a keen eye on underfoot conditions and see what's going on? I want to know what you think we might get at Cheltenham, because there's always this assumption that however wet or dry the winter might be, that everything will change in the first couple of weeks of March and we'll get good to soft. Is there anything to suggest maybe that it might be a little softer this time, or are we bang on course for the usual, do you think?
I think they always aim for good to soft, and you often see it coming actually it's slightly better. Obviously, with the calibre of horses there, you don't want to. You want obviously the best possible racing ground, which I think is kind of good to soft. It's a very level playing field, and I'd imagine that's what they'll aim for. And it's obviously weather permitting whether they get that. But with the winter we've had and the rain that's come through, you'd hope you'd be getting there on kind of good soft, good ground.
OK, latest from Paddy Power on the JLT, please, Tom Nugent.
Yes, York Hill at the top 5-4, and then it's Top Notch 7-1 alongside Whisper, Politolog 10-1, Bells Hill and Coney Island at 12-1 alongside Might Bite, and then there's a few at 16s, including Frodon, Bleu Rouge, and Waiting Patiently 20s bar.
Paul Keeley's certainly keeping the faith with Politolog after Haydock. Are you, Sam? Do you think that 10-1's a nice little price?
Yeah, I'm still very happy with him. Look, he's a really solid jumper. It's never ideal to make the running. The one thing of Cheltenham's a different scenario altogether for him. Hopefully a fast run race, you can tuck him in, ride a bit more of a race on him, and it'll be more to his liking. OK, and Nick, bonus points for you for describing Top Notch as not the biggest. That's what you've got to do with small horses, isn't it? You never say they're small or they're little. You always have to say not the biggest, or the slightly longer version, not the biggest horse in the world. With Cheltenham in mind, then, anything else over the weekend worthy of a mention? We had Coeur de Lion, didn't we? Lochberg Spirit and Mick Jazz both went OK yesterday. Montbeg Charmer, what caught your eye, Nick?
Well, just going back a few more days than that, and being an old farmer, I love the Fox Hunters, of course, and you know, the point-to-point angle and all that. But there's a horse that might put it up to On the Fringe this year.
Wonderful Charm.
No, Ask the Weatherman, trained by
okay.
Jack Barber. It won at Wincanton last week, and it looked very impressive. And I think he's second in the market now behind On the Fringe. And I'd keep an eye out for that name. Remember that.
Did you not see Wonderful
Weatherman.
Charm dot up in his? Well, I say dot up. He just didn't move on him. Mr. Biddick and
yeah, and I think it's looking quite a competitive race. I think it might be tough for On the Fringe to do the treble. We haven't obviously seen him yet this season, but yeah, Wonderful Charm's another one to bring into the mix. But yeah, I thought Jack Barber's horse was quite impressive.
What price is on the? What's he called? Ask the Weatherman.
Ask the Weatherman.
Ask the Weatherman, Tom. What price is that for the Fox Hunters?
Ask the Weatherman is 5-1, third in for the Fox Hunters. You'll see On the Fringe this Sunday in Leopardstown. He normally puts in a stinker first time, but I think he's going to run.
Sam, any thoughts on the Fox Hunter at this early stage?
Well, Wonderful Charm. I don't know what kind of rating some horses have carried into the Fox Hunters, but Wonderful Charm's got an official rating of 154. Not really sure if many horses have carried a rating like that into the Fox Hunters before. So to me, he looks like he's got plenty of ability. And if you can say Master Weatherman's a 154 performer, I'd be amazed, you know.
He absolutely didn't move on him, did he? He won that.
No,
he didn't win it by far, but he did not move. It was very impressive.
Biddick is an absolute, Will Biddick is an absolute class rider. Imagine if it wasn't for weight bearing, he'd be definitely making his way as a professional. He's an exceptional rider, and like you say, he rides the both of them. So whichever one he goes for on the day, you'll know he fancies strongly, and whichever one he goes for definitely won't be far away.
Do you think that would be a tough choice for him, Sam?
Well, no one will know about Wonderful Charm and the ability he's got. If the ground turns up good, he'll have a massive chance. If it was soft, he's very, very ground dependent. It wouldn't totally surprise me if he went back onto us with the man.
Okay, Sam. While we're with you, we've had Nick's eye catcher from the weekend. Ask the Weatherman. Who's yours? Give us a horse to stick in the Racing Post tracker.
A horse I obviously won yesterday, Mick Jazz. I was quite in Punchdown. Was impressed with him. He popped the last and then got away from it and picked up a smart horse of Willie Mullins's. I actually remember riding him in the Great Wood a long time ago, and he had a fibrating heart, and they thought he'd win that. So obviously it'd be interesting to see where they go with him now. I think he was only rated 134 yesterday, so it'd be interesting to see what handicapper does to him and where he ends up.
Tom, where's Mick Jazz in the Supreme betting?
Yeah, so Mick Jazz is making me pull my hair out a little bit because it's making the Supreme Novice Hurdle picture even more foggy than it was already. So Mick Jazz is now 16-1, and the horse he beats, Silas Emery, is out to 16-1.
You don't need to worry. It's not cloudy at all. Melon will win. What price is the mighty Melon now, Tom? Come on.
Melon is 11-4, 6-1 bar. Moonracer is next in.
Come on, the Melon. Come on, Watsy. Who do you fancy for the Supreme, Watsy?
Well, it's funny you say that, because before yesterday's race, I was a big fan of that Silas Emery, and I was looking forward, hopefully, to him winning by 10 lengths yesterday, and he got beaten. So I'm kind of having to regroup in that market and think again. Maybe Charlie Parks.
Charlie Parks. Sam, if I gave you a free £20 bet to put on the Supreme now, who would you back?
I was very impressed with Melon, but being obviously where I'm riding a Moonracer, I think hopefully he could do the business for the pipe team.
Very, very loyal. Jolly good. OK, we will look ahead to the Grand National, the Betfair Hurdle. I want to have a chat about the female jockey allowance in a mo.
Paddy Power stream all UK and Irish racing live on your mobile, tablet or PC. Unlike some other high street bookies, Paddy Power, you beauty!
OK, so you will probably be aware by now that at the end of last week, the French racing authorities decided that in most but not all races, female jockeys will have a 2 kilogram, which is roughly £4, weight allowance. It's caused all sorts of opinions, as everything always does in racing. Some people think it's the right thing to do. Some people think it's an absolute insult and a piece of arch sexism, and others aren't sure. Sam, if this happened over here, all of a sudden Lizzie Kelly was getting a great big allowance. I suppose it'd be more for jumps races because it's longer. How would you guys feel?
Yeah, it's one of those. Obviously, when you're riding that half a ton animal, there's only so much you can do. Like when it does come down to your strength and stuff, that you wouldn't make a massive amount of difference. A lot of riding is technique and tactics throughout a race. But I think if anyone was to offer me a £4 claim, I'd jump at the chance of it, because any advantage you can get is a massive one, especially when you're talking about financial future and everything. I'd say if they're going to £4 claim, they're bound to be busier and make more money throughout the game.
So if you're all of a sudden you think these really good female riders like Lucy Alexander and Lizzie Kelly all of a sudden started getting £4, would you be thinking this is not fair? They're just gonna beat us more often than not.
So that's thing, they're exceptional riders in their own right, and the way I'd see it, if someone offered me a £4 claim, I'd jump at the chance to take it. So it's one of those, if they're upside you with a £4 claim, you're going to have to try and find the best part of 2 lengths somewhere, So it's going to make it tougher for the rest of us. But if it's there, if the offer's there, I wouldn't be surprised if they grabbed it with both hands.
Okay, so let's say that if Paul Struthers, the top man at the Jockeys Association, said, right, we've had a look at this France thing, we've given it a chance to bed in. We think we're going to introduce something similar over here, or the BHA want to do it, and they've asked us what we think. What would you say? Absolutely no way, or give it a go, or what would your opinion be, Sam?
So obviously, from a totally selfish point of view, you'd love to say leave it as it is, because obviously it keeps us all busy. And I could see if they brought it in, a lot of the girls would get a lot busier. It'd be mad for trainers not to use them getting the £4, especially the likes of Josephine Gordon, Lizzie Kelly, Bridget Andrews. I mean, they're strong riders. If they're getting a £4 claim, God, they become invaluable.
Watsy, where do you stand on this one?
Well, first off, I don't think it's a sexist thing. I know there's been a lot of negativity towards it, but France was obviously responding to a need. Maybe they had a lot of women entering the game wanting to be potential jockeys, and then a lot of them leaving it and going off and doing other things, and maybe that's why they brought it in. And the problem for me about France, I was thinking about it after it came out. I couldn't even name you a French lady jockey, to be honest.
I said to the news desk, let's do a panel in the paper with 3 or 4 of the leading ones, and I'd never heard of any of them.
No, nor had I. And there was one that worked for Andre Fabre, I think, and so they're obviously responding positively in their view to something that was a real problem, and so I don't think it should be viewed negatively. Whether it should happen over here, I think it's a good, it's good in the way that France have done it, because we can learn, we can see from them, give it a couple of years and see if it's made a difference over there. If it does, then maybe it will over here. And I think the thing that we ought to guard against, or try and guard against, is people like Hayley Turner are absolutely fantastic for the sport and obviously reach the top echelons of it. I just get the feeling, as well as like Josephine Gordon and her ilk are doing, Holly Doyle, great riders. I just think there's been a bit of a void since Hayley left the scene. And you wouldn't want to return to the to the days when lady jockeys were just a novelty and, weren't weren't heard of.
Yeah, but maybe half the problem is that trainers and owners are fundamentally against using female jockeys through a bit of lingering chauvinism. I don't know, but look, it's an interesting one. It will be fascinating to see how it pans out in France. Tom Nugent, I guess the likes of Nina and Katie Walsh would absolutely snap up an allowance, wouldn't they, and make full use of it.
I'm sure they would. I'm not 100% convinced it's something that a bookmaker's representative should be passing comment on in the first place, but look, racing has always prided itself on it being a sport where men and women can compete on equal terms. Disclaim, I'll leave it up to the experts whether it's a good or a bad thing.
We're asking you that in your capacity as a racing expert, not as a bookie's PR. OK, also, Grand National entries are out. Watsy, at this stage, who do you like? Who have you put up?
I haven't put. Well, I put up one ages ago, Alvarado, but he's not going to get in. He needed to win at the weekend. I don't think he's going to make the cut, which is a real shame. And I'm not just saying this because Sam's on the show, but I think Black Lion.
Oh, you love Black Lion, don't you?
I do, and I think he might be the right sort for the race. I know he's like top notch. He's not the biggest horse in the world, but
he's small, is he?
He is on the small side, but he's a very efficient jumper. I've never seen him make a mistake. He fell early on in his chase career at Cheltenham, and since then he's been absolutely foot perfect. I think he might suit Aintree, and I know he might have looked a non-stayer to some in the Hennessy, but I'm not convinced he was quite at his peak that day. And he'll provide somebody with a great ride. Obviously, Ryan Hatch, unfortunately, will be an onlooker at Aintree, so it's a fantastic opportunity for someone. Maybe Willie might fancy it. Sam, what do you think?
Yeah, I would be mad. I don't know if he's actually had enough winners over fences, but look, he's obviously come out a bit of time, sorry, to get him over the Hennessy. It was a tough race for him. Hence the reason he probably didn't run quite to his best last time. So obviously with the way the handicap is looking, be interesting to see what the handicapper does to him. At the minute he's got a rating of 152. If he dropped him a few or even had him a pound higher, you wouldn't be too disappointed at all, because I think he's a very solid horse, and I think he's since he's had that fall early on in his novice career, he has not looked back. His jumping has been solid. He has a great way of going about things, and like you say, when you look at a horse like him, he looks perfect for race.
The weights are out in 8 days' time, Sam. At this early stage, give me two horses. One, give me a horse that you might ride, that you really like the look of for Aintree, and then give me a horse that you definitely won't be riding. Any other horse from any other stable that you would fear.
Obviously we're very lucky we have Vicente in there. It's been his target obviously all season. He's a horse that obviously comes alive in the spring. He's a lot stronger. The other horse we have in there I think is potentially very interesting is the Mercury. Very decent performer on his day. Seems to be a lot better in the spring. He's got a rating of 151 at the minute. Be interesting to see what weight he gets. The main dangers, the one that showed probably most as you look through him, I really fear that obviously the horse of Lucinda Russell's one for Arthur. Did really well last time to win at Warwick, jumped solidly, came from quite far back and just seemed to have a great way of going about it. And he looks like a really solid chance for the North. Excellent.
Tom, what's the latest from Paddy Power on the Nash?
Yeah, so we're Don Polly 14-1 favs now. The Last Samurai 16s. View Leon Rouge at 20s alongside Carlingford Lock and 1 for Arthur. It's 25-1. The Young Master and Empire of Dirt, and it's 33-1 bar with a whole load of them there.
Are you eyeing one up at this stage, Tom?
Yeah, I've been talking about Uccello Conti all year. He ran a belter again in the Thyestes there the week before last. The winner of that, Champagne West, bolted up and was actually cut for the Gold Cup afterwards. So if Champagne West was to show up in the Gold Cup, he might be a dark one there. I think he's 20-1 for an each way bet.
OK, and we'll have a quick look at the Betfair Hurdle as well, which is obviously this weekend. Doubts about the Fav. What's the latest market, please, Tom Nugent?
Sutton Place 4-1. Consul de Thay 7s alongside Move with the Times and Ballyandy. Klein at 8-1, and then Footpad and William H. Bonney at 12s, 14s bar.
Right, one quick early shout each for the Betfair Hurdle. Nick Watts.
Again, not because Sam's on the show, but Ballyandy, I always thought he was the right type for it.
OK, Sam?
It'd be obviously Wido from race. Absolutely love Ballyandy to pieces. I think he's rated 135, winning a champion bumper. So running in this looks like he's got a massive chance.
Excellent. And Tom?
I'm hoping Zubair can improve a little from the last day.
OK, last one before we go. Tomorrow we've got an anti-post special. We're looking at the Ryanair chase. So we'll get a quick shout from each of the lads on who they fancy for the Ryanair. We'll start with you, Watsy.
I put up 2 in the RFO, which is coming out tomorrow, so it's a bit of a spoiler, but I put up Sub-Lieutenant and Zabana.
OK, and what about you, Sam?
Yeah, Zuban, I thought looked like had a good chance to follow suit, really.
OK, and Tom, who's your Ryanair fancy?
Thought Seisenjan was really good the last day in Thurles, so I'll stick with him.
I'm going to go for Uxik Zondra. I thought that was a really lovely comeback. People are saying, oh, he might bounce, but I'll stick with him. OK, chaps, thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Nick Watts. Hope that cold gets better. Sam, stay in this red-hot form for us. That was excellent yesterday. Tom Nugent, thank you very much. Thank you for watching.
Check out Paddy Power's new and exclusive Cash Card Plus. Available to use online, at ATMs, or even down the local. Paddy Power, you beauty!